Welcome back. I'm Andrew Mercer, and I'm going through Artistry and Strings violin book with you. Now today we're on page 10, and we're going to be looking at some exercises there on page 10, but we're looking at harmonics. Now the harmonics on violin are, the reason why it's in this program is that we want to get your hand set up, your left hand set up, so that you get the best posture in your left hand as you're playing violin. We don't want to get any collapsed wrist or anything weird. So we want to make sure you get the best setup. Now a nice way to do that is to get used to playing harmonics up here, because when you play harmonics up on the violin, your wrist is nice and straight. You see that? See, when I'm up here playing a harmonic, my wrist is straight. So that's the reason why we do this, in case you're wondering. Okay, so let's have a look at what a harmonic is first of all. On your violin, if you play an open note, the whole string is vibrating as one unit, just back and forth. That's a fundamental sound. That's what they call it, a fundamental. If you touch your violin string, if you touch your string very lightly, right in the middle of your string, you're going to get a note that's an octave higher, or 8 notes higher than the string you're playing. So if I play an open D, I get that. If I touch it right in the middle, very lightly, almost like if you're wondering how hard to touch it, imagine that somebody's blowing bubbles with a, the blowing bubbles, this kind of thing, and you want to try to touch a bubble but not break it. That's about as hard as you should touch it, just so you can touch your finger off the bubble and maybe not break it. That's pretty soft, isn't it? Well, that's how lightly you should touch the string to get it. Now, if you're wondering where to place your finger, you can actually take a measuring tape and you can measure from the bridge to the nut, because that's what this is called up here, so nut. So if you measure from the bridge to the nut, and you can put a little mark in the middle, maybe a piece of tape, and that'll show you where you need to place your finger to get the harmonic. Okay, so I'll let you guys do that on your own. Now the next thing, we want to see about how we read that on sheet music. If you look at the notation that's at the top of page 10, you'll see that we have a D string with a D note, which is, it has a 3 and a little O, a little circle under the 3. That means harmonic. And that means you use your third finger, your ring finger of your left hand, to touch, and it's on the D string. So that would give you that sound. So when you've seen open D strings before written, and that's the note that hangs below the bottom line of the 5 lines. It's the note below. That's an open D string. If we play a harmonic, it's the 4th line up on the staff, as you can see on top of page 10. But it's written with a 3 and a little circle or an O over it. Sometimes they don't include the 3. Sometimes it's just a little O, a little circle, but that still means a harmonic. And the G is the same way. It's the 2nd line from the bottom on your staff paper, on your staff, but it's got a 3 and an O or a circle, and that's a harmonic as well. Okay, so if we look down to 18. 18 has some music we want to play to practice making those harmonic sounds. Oh, and by the way, before you get to that, you should try making some. So you'll notice it sounds kind of like a flute. It's got a nice whistly sound to it. Okay, so you can practice that. Now let's go to 18. 18 we have open string Ds, or ordinary Ds, and we have harmonic Ds, which would be. So the very first 3 notes will be 3 tas, or 3 quarter notes on with the harmonic, and then we have the second measure as 3 D strings with no harmonic. Watch this. Let's try it. 18. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 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 There you go. Not much to it. Now let's try the second section, the B section, which would be halfway through that first line. We're going to do the G harmonics. So it starts there with the G. So get your harmonic ready right in the middle and touch it very lightly with your finger. Get your bow on, ready to go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rest. 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 Now the next one, 19, has harmonics on all strings, and it's encouraging you to make up rhythms for every one of the harmonics on the strings. So, for example, our G harmonic, which you just did, our D, our A, because A has a harmonic as well, and our E. So we can play all those harmonics. All the while we're doing this, make note of your hand, the way your hand is. Your wrist is very flat right here. Very flat, very relaxed position. You keep your violin up nice and high. So when we move down the violin again, down to here, your wrist is going to keep the same attitude. It's going to keep the same posture. So you don't want to do this kind of thing. We don't want that. Want to make sure your wrist stays straight. So the posture it has up here when you're doing your harmonics, you want to keep the same posture when you move it down. But that's going to come later. So you can play with 19 on your own. You can make up some rhythms to go in there. So now in the next video, we're going to go on to number 20. So stay tuned and be sure to go to andrewviolin.com for lots more violin stuff. And I'll see you in the next video.